What's up, RotoBallers? It's Pierre, the Roto Chef, coming in with you one more time for the 2021 season with my stardom situm for wide receiver. It's week 17, which is championship week for most of you. So, congrats making it this far. You know that these decisions, though, who to put in your lineup, will be the most important decision you ever make this week. All right, so let's get to it with a couple guys I think you must keep in your lineup. And let's start with Tyler Lockett. I know I started with a Seahawk for running backs. Let's start with a wide receiver also in Seattle. Tyler Lockett didn't play last week because he was on the COVID list, but just like so many others, he's off. He's back now. Let's hope that he's conditioned and in shape, doesn't have any kind of after effects like we saw with Tyreek Hill. I don't think that's a problem because he wasn't quite, as much of a short notice. He's had more time to recover. So I think he'll be fine conditioning wise. But you know what? This matchup against Detroit, you have to roll with him. I know Detroit's defense has been a little bit better lately. They're not going to shut down anybody, much less Tyler Lockett. And, with Russell Wilson, that is his favorite target ever since Russ came back from that injury. Probably too soon, but it is what it is. So ever since then, in week 10, Tyler Lockett's averaging almost 7 targets per game and 79 receiving yards per game. That's pretty good. He just doesn't quite have that same connection with DK Metcalf, but when Lockett's out there, Russell Wilson seems to be just fine. So he's a guy that is pretty much must start territory most weeks, but in this week, I think you have to take a shot with him. Now, Odell Beckham, I know didn't quite smash last week. I think I had him on here already, and so that Vikings secondary is so bad. He did catch a touchdown. He got you enough points, that he was worth starting, but just didn't go crazy. Cooper Kupp is still around. So here's the thing. The one secondary I think we can agree that it's worse than Minnesota's right now is Baltimore. You probably know that basically everybody that they've ever had back there is hurt or on the COVID list. Marlon Humphrey out for the year. Marcus Peters out for the year. Anthony Averett, who was back there, now also injured, a rib injury. Jimmy Smith on the COVID list. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, they're pulling guys off the street to try to play, cornerback there. So we know what has been happening to them the last few weeks. But here's an interesting thing. You remember a couple of weeks ago with Devontae Adams and the Packers going against them, and we thought he's going to go crazy. But they did that triple coverage thing where they just said, beat us with anybody else. And so they did, with like MVS and those guys. So I wonder if they're going to pay so much attention to trying to stop Cooper Kupp that Odell Beckham is just left wide open. And I'm not exaggerating here. I really think they're going to focus on Kupp because that's their only shot at trying to stop this passing game. But either way, you have to take a chance with OBJ based on this matchup and how many yards Baltimore has been giving up. They've allowed almost 200 yards a game to wide receivers over the last half of the season. The last 8 games, almost 200 yards to wide receiver core. So even if you give Kupp his 100 plus, that's a lot left over for Beckham, and Jefferson hasn't really been involved. So I absolutely think OBJ, you have to take a shot with him. And I mentioned MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Well, he also missed last week, but he's back. So, him and Lazard, they kind of take turns being productive. I guess it's his turn now because he's back. He's the one who's been the more favored receiver by Aaron Rodgers when both guys are on the field. I'm talking about Valdes-Scantling and Lazard. Over the last 4 games he's played, he's gotten 31 targets. And the last time he played Minnesota, who I just mentioned is the second worst secondary out there right now, he went for 123 yards. So we know he always has that boom ability against Minnesota. Again, it's just worth it. You have to take a chance on him. I prefer him over Lazard. Lazard is not a bad start, but again, it seems like when both guys are out there, it's like MVS is the preferred option. So I think MVS is definitely worth the risk. I don't think DJ Moore is. You know what? It's hard to sit a guy like that, very talented, but what is Carolina doing? I mean, it's just reeking of desperation by Matt Rule. He keeps flip-flopping these quarterbacks. Sam Darnold is back now, and now he's saying that he might start. And then when is Cam Newton coming in? I mean, this can't be good for the offense or especially for the receivers. I know Darnold connected with Moore early in the season. That was a whole different Sam Darnold. If you watch Sam Darnold after week 4, you probably know what I'm talking about. So this isn't a good situation. And, Moore is going to have Marshawn Lattimore attention for most of the day. Moore had a decent game last time these two teams played, but nothing great. And again, based on the way things are going, Carolina, I don't want, a guy that has such limited upside in my lineup. So again, I'd rather take a flyer on a guy like MVS. And then Terry McLaurin, same thing, such a good player, just such a bad situation. What worries me is this offense now. It's almost like you see last week that they're starting to wave the white flag. You see all these rookies like De'Ami Brown getting a lot of attention at receiver, John Bates at tight end. You see in running back, I know Gibson's been banged up, but Jared Patterson coming in. It's almost like they're playing for the future. So McLaurin will be out there. Thought he might miss this week because that hit that he took, that concussion scare, seems like he's fine. Haven't heard any word that he might miss this week. But even so, he also has a bad matchup with Philly. Big play, Darius Slay is going to be on the other side following him. Last time these teams played, he only went for 51 yards, 2 catches. That's not going to get it done. I really don't see things getting better. Taylor Heineke has officially turned back to a pumpkin. This offense is kind of done for the season. I'm not trusting anybody on Washington, the Giants, Carolina. I mean, there's just certain teams you want to avoid at this point of the season. And unfortunately, Terry McLaurin is on one of those teams. So I'm keeping him benched. All right. Well, that does it, guys. Hopefully you pull out the win this week. We're rooting for you. Keep it tuned to RotoBaller all weekend long. Check out our news desk for all the latest updates and our rankings. By the way, 2 of our rankers were top 10 accuracy, including our own big pick, Nick Mariano. So check that out always. And hopefully you guys have some good luck this week too. All right. Thanks for watching.